with it the way we shared our lives with each other.
My name is David S.K. Johnson. Too many David Johnsons, that's right. I'm an actor, and I was part of the visual styles of the team.
Hi, my name is Erica Echinacea, and I did a lot of acting, voice acting, and production assistant stuff on our team.
My name is Rico Thomas, and I'm director, co-director, writer, cinematography.
Peace and love. My name is Charles Davis, and I did the acting and I did the soundtrack for the film.
Michael Hafner. I did directing and writing and a little bit of acting. Yep.
My name is Jordan Mayberry. I played Dave. What I do? I did the cinematography, editing, helped with the writing. I played Dave. And yeah. Oh yeah, and I directed it. Yes.
CJ, also Madness.
Woo! CJ!
I just helped with support anywhere, and I was also CAFTR. I don't know what that is, so I did that, though.
Okay, so first of all, let's give them another round of applause. I thought it was rewriters. So what was the experience behind you three coming up with one cohesive concept? Like, as a writer, I know that's tough as one person battling myself. So talk about that.
So that was the battle. So the very first day we got started, we hit the ground running, and everybody got their roles. And when it came to the writing point, it was I, myself, Michael, Jordan, and Alexa. Alexa Nair, she's part of our team. She's still in Chicago. But everybody wrote their own script. But the thing was, what helped was we all had the same idea. Like, we went in and we knew what we wanted to write about. It was just wrote from different point of views. And then David and Michael and Jordan, I keep saying Dave. Michael and Jordan, they really would sit down and they combined the scripts together.
Yeah, I think from the very beginning, the first meeting, we came up with this idea of like living language. And so this idea of communication beyond technology. And so we were really interested in that. We had a lot of really talented people, with Erica being a dancer and you with your music. And so there was a lot of influence around this idea of using art as a form of communication. And so what happens when technology breaks down? How can we have this kind of shared experience? And so that living language was sort of like this connective thread between everything.
What did I write? I did more of the combining the scripts and really working everyone's dialogue, especially me and Rico's dialogue into Michael's world building. And everyone kind of got their flowers in the scripts in terms of how it all came together. My biggest thing was I really hope this makes sense, because the way I'm seeing this, it does make sense. And you really just have to get it, you know what I mean? And if you don't, then maybe you're just not as cool as us. But yeah, Michael summed it up perfectly. What we were trying to convey with what happens when you're kind of in David's character's shoes in this situation, and you really just don't know what the fuck's going on.
I have a question. Someone said who scored it? Who scored it? Oh, Childs, awesome. Okay, so I have a question about your selection. I feel like the transition into that warehouse scene, I sensed a very clear shift in not just obviously the music itself, but like the tone of the music and almost even the style. Could you talk more about that and maybe what that meant to you or what that was supposed to signal for the character?
It's just evolving.
Well, honestly, I would have to say that Jordan really did well with the placement. What I provided him was just about 8 minutes of sound, and I just threaded it all together. I had saw a rough edit of what we were doing, and I definitely wanted to have ethereal type of sounds. You kind of hear some chants from like indigenous groups in there, and so I thought that would kind of capture how we as artists would show up in the film without having to say anything. So like I said, I attribute the placement and where things were to Jordan in his editing. I just basically gave him as much as I could to play with.
What do you know? What were the chants about? What are they trying to do?
Well, actually, the last sound is like this. I dare to imitate it, but I actually pulled it from offline. I had saw a group of indigenous the Maasai tribe in Africa, and they were like doing these chants, and it sounds very transient. And so, so I had pulled that sound, and then I used some stock sounds that I had on Ableton Live is what I work with, and then and I played a lot of the instruments, on my keyboard as well.
I want to know, because I haven't seen this from you yet, until now. I haven't seen you play like a disgruntled band, so tell me, what was the preparation for playing this character? Was it natural, was it challenging?
I would say it would be more natural. I haven't had a faith, so naturally I'm going through these things. We all, no matter what you believe in, it's a journey regardless. And if you decide to wake up and listen to your heart and chase after whatever you're going after.
And tweak out right quick.
Tweak out. I tweaked out, sober actually, that's the funny part. But no, it wasn't really difficult in a sense. Everyone was very encouraging. The crew was amazing, making me feel, getting feedback. How did that look? Because they're seeing it, I'm not. I'm just doing my job. But no, it wasn't that difficult to really fit in with the character. Besides, don't do drugs, kids. But other than that, it was that difficult.
Are there any questions from the audience?
What made you decide to split up the film into two parts like that, with the playback in the middle? Sorry, was it a joke? I'm sorry. Please.
It's a joke. It's the play stop. I'm sorry. It was great. It was really great.
Okay.
Okay.
Really good work.
Yeah, this is kind of open to the whole cast, but I noticed there was a lot of Western themes, Lone Hero, Conquering the Wasteland type vibes, meeting all these indigenous groups. Is that something that you had in mind, or was that something that just came naturally during the film process and all that?
I think a lot of it came down to stripping down to going back to the roots of humanity and communication of what that means. So even the locations, you'll notice everything was very more bare bones. We tried not to get any cars in shots or digital signage or all of that stuff. So I think with the music, the communication, even the drawings, it all went back to our natural roots and influence of communication. And so that was, I think, the crux of that.
What genre were you given?
Yeah, absurd comedy.
Absurdist comedy.
Thank you.
Oh yes, I completely forgot to even say before. There was a prompt and a genre for everything. The prompt for this entire lab was create the world that you want to see. So this team's genre that they randomly drew was absurdist comedy. All right, so why don't we start off the same way? Let's go down the line, introduce ourselves, and say what we worked on.
Nice try.
David Wraith, I'm one of the writers, and I played Robert.
I'm Marlena, I played Marilyn, and I'm an actor.
I'm Lane, and I'm an actress, and I played Cheryl.
I'm Chelsea Flood, and I provided for space, freestyle, and I was Hi, my name is Zoe. I'm the director.
Hi, I'm Meredith. I was a writer and an extra.
Thank you for raising your hand. That was very
This was so awesome. Everyone was super excited to make something. We sat down at the table and we were like, okay, so what are we doing? It was really fun from the start. We were not solid with our first idea, leaving the first event, so then we hopped on a Zoom the next day and we kept working on it. And everyone was super, super excited. Everyone just buckled down and did it, and then it was done. So that's what I have to say.
I'll also just add that one of the things that really helped us a lot was we nailed down our schedule before we left that table the first night. And our writers, man, they knocked that script out in less than 24 hours. So kudos to them.
So speaking of the writing, talk about the connection between the setting being 1968 and the chess club or chess social. By the way, I love chess. So as soon as I saw the piece motifs, I was like, ah. So yeah, talk about that, the connection.
So there's two awesome people who aren't here tonight. Ethan, who edited everything, and Kay, who was on set doing basically everything else. And Kay kind of gave us this idea of two people playing chess, and as the chess moves along, we see their relationship progress. And we had historical revisionism as our genre. So our thought was, in what world are two people playing chess, but it's different than this world, it's a world we want to be in. And essentially we landed on a world where these women feel comfortable being themselves, they feel comfortable being together, and they have a lot of opportunities in life due to barriers of racism, sexism, and homophobia being broken down.
And what if MLK and JFK did not die?
Yeah. Were there any questions from the audience? Oh.
Hey y'all, great job. Everybody, great job. I was curious about the choice of going from black and white into color. I have assumptions of why you did that, but I'd like to know if you're why you made that choice.
So we wanted to do black and white because it was a period piece, and we wanted to invoke like newsreel footage and footage from the civil rights movement. But we're in a world where the civil rights movement doesn't happen. So after we invoked the period, we wanted it to go to color once the two characters touched each other and kind of acknowledged their feelings for each other, because they're living in this world that doesn't have like racism or sexism or homophobia, but it's when they make that personal connection that they change the world. They don't need to change the world that we're living in, but it's when they have that moment of connection, they change their world, and that's when things go from black and white to color.
Awesome work. Awesome work. So with the two leading ladies, talk about challenges that you two faced with maybe chemistry or lines or maybe even like moving the pieces if you two aren't familiar with chess. So talk about those things.
Yeah, I guess I can talk about that. So I don't know chess, and we had an amazing extra. Is she here? Here, yes. Okay. Can you? She was amazing. Remind me of your name. Sandy. Sandy, you were fantastic. Yeah, we were just sitting there looking at the board like, All right, y'all, so we're supposed to be playing chess, but here's the guy, we don't know what we're doing. And Sandy came and saved us, and she even told us, like, here's what would be checkmate, like, here's what a movie would really do. And so she just, like, thank you for that. And then with Shannon, the gag is that on the first day of cohort, I actually walked up to her because I'm crazy and I research everyone and I know everything, and I looked up everyone's government name because I don't like being caught off guard. And I saw Shannon and I was like, you're an actor too, hello. So we actually met each other and we were like, hey, let's exchange some information. And then we ended up being in the same group. So we were already down.
Yeah, a lot of great chemistry. I would say the challenging part was not only did our writers knock out that script in less than 24 hours, but we had to learn our lines within 48 hours to be able to knock it out on Sunday. So that gave our editors and everyone else the time they needed to pull it all together. So that and the chess pieces, man.
Yeah. Thank you, Sandy.
Yes. Yeah, so I just want to say, if a lot of you are unfamiliar with SAG-AFTRA or hesitant about ever working with SAG-AFTRA actors, or you're just unclear, like, if we could even do these projects, don't worry, I was too. I actually reached out to our executive director and said, hey, this really cool thing looks like it's coming to St. Louis, and can I do this? Like, is this going against Global Rule 1? How do I make this work? And she said, yeah, just fill out a micro agreement. So I went online. It was a one-page agreement. So anybody who is working on a project under $20,000, you fill out this micro agreement. I brought printed copies of our performer agreement, and they just sign a one-pager at set day one, and that was it. So it gave us gave me an opportunity to still be able to work on these projects. So anybody who has friends who are union members, you can still work with them. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. You can look us up at sagaftra.org /MV for Missouri Valley.
I'm Jim. I wrote most of the script. I mean, the concept we all came up with, but I wrote the screenplay that we ended up producing, and I acted a little bit, and I did some editing.
Hi, I'm Shane. I did production assistant mostly.
Hi guys, my name is Aviana Tiara Brown. Musically, some people might know me as Aviana in the Pure Root, and I played Callie.
Hello everyone, my name is Kevin Baker. Primarily I was a co-actor on this project, and I did a little bit of the producing of it.
My name is DeAndre J. Edwards, and I was the director of the film. I want to say, first and foremost, our audio got screwed up. I just want to let that be known. It got messed up bad.
Mr. Indie filmmaking world, you are very much okay. That's it. So I think immediately after watching it, what comes to mind for me is it's super interesting to see like this idea come to life of someone in everyday life apprehending a legislator who passes like unjust, unfair legislation. So from the writer, from the cast, can you all talk about how you all agreed on this concept? What were the conversations like? Was it easy? Was it difficult?
Well, originally the concept, what we had all kind of agreed on the first day of it was this idea of this, or someone, or like the original concept, just the bare idea was just like someone tracking someone in a car, kind of like stalking them, kind of like what police do when they're like tracking criminals like that, but like kind of vigilante justice. And that's where it came from, but we kept trying to figure out what the motivation was. Like we knew the setting and like the conflict, but we didn't know who the characters were. And so we all went and we all had a crack at it, and what I ended up doing is something along the lines of a lawyer who's passing a law to like make women like only have 2 kids, and like if you had any more, it was like you were forced to get rid of it. And it was something interesting. It's like a subject I've never ever written about or like really ever touched at all. But I thought it was interesting, just in the climate we live in today. It just, there's a lot to say about that.
Yeah. I was going to say something that what you just said made me think of, and what I kind of got from the film is that, like, in our country, and this is statistically true, women in general are completely underserved by our healthcare system. And specifically within that subset, Black women are completely underserved. And I think that what you guys did made me think of that, and I like having Aviana be that character and seeing your POV. I felt like it was really important that you set that message. Do you want to talk more about that? Or your experience in general?
I think the concept was really interesting, and for me, preparing for the character, especially being that very somber, moody type of vibe, I know that is a law that used to be in place in China. And so I tried to find like a specific person that was in the news. And I found someone that made like international headlines. She was forced to have an abortion because in the very beginning of the film, when she's on the phone, she's basically talking to a doctor about how she had an abortion. Because she lost 2 kids, she had another kid, and she couldn't keep that one. So I found a true case in China where a woman was forced to have an abortion at 7 months pregnant. They, held her down, forced her to abort the baby. She already had kids, but China had a 2-child rule at the time. And so I think it was a cool experience. I've never played a role where I've had to my character shoot someone, but I had a great time really empathizing with mothers and empathizing with that person that I researched on in China and really getting into that, just getting into character, so yeah.
Are there any questions in the audience? Oh. Are you gonna fight?
We want to know what the genre was. And whose hat was that? Whose hat was that? Was that your hat? Great hat. We had neo-western.
Yeah, their genre was neo-western.
Wondering what it was like for the actors, but really everyone on set filming the confrontation at the end, because I imagine that could get pretty tense.
Well, it was actually great working with Aviana. She's a great scene partner. Number one, she knows the lines. I love that. Number one, the actors know their lines. But filming the scene was actually very hilarious because, obviously on camera we hate each other. Like, she just killed me. But in between takes or rehearsing the lines, we just bounced off each other's energy. So he's a great director, so that made it fun and funny at the same time. But obviously when the camera's on, you gotta get serious with it. But I think I speak for her as well when I say this. It was actually very, very fun doing that scene.
The goal for shooting that scene, I just wanted to try a few different things. I like to experiment with different things. We tried the emotional part of the mother, and then also I wanted to try something on the aggressive side. Imagine this man, you have him in a corner. You have him in a corner, he can't go anywhere. How are you going to react? How are you going to react in the said moment? So I had a phenomenal time directing these two. They was a pleasure from the start, from the jump, and I would love to have them work with the job again.
I was gonna say one thing. I know I had my own take of that final scene, and I had a very overly emotional take on it, but I know Deandra stepped in the very last minute. He wanted me to change it up a little bit, and he was just like, I want you to convey this idea that you snapped, like you just have nothing to lose. And so I really tried to kind of just looked like I lost it, like I had lost my mind, and it was just, I've never done something like that before, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
Getting closer and closer to going.
It was amazing. And Shane, you want to say?
You guys did so good. And you guys maybe want to try acting.
The last sequence had a cool look to it. Was that shot against like a projection?
There is a VR production studio in St. Louis called Arch Portal Industries. The founder and operator of that, Kent, heard about the lab and super graciously donated time in the studio for every single team. So I think honestly every single one we've seen so far has utilized it. So that green screen you see, oh no, not one, forgive me, not one move at a time. But the other two did utilize it. I'd like the first one, the space scene, I believe was there. This one, that ending scene. Basically what that VR studio does is it just allows you to kind of create any environment that you want and be ultra specific, ultra detailed. So thank you to Arch Portal Industries for offering that.
My name is Tyler. I was the director and one of the writers, and I guess I helped produce this.
What's up, Marquise Jackson, and I played the angel in the opening of the film.
My name is Anurag, and I was one of the writers with Tyler, and I also played as the judge.
My name is Janelisa, and I played the role Adrian, and I did a little bit of writing as well.
My name is Ryan, and I played the part of the young artist in his ventriloquist dummy.
My name is Terrence Miller. I was the TV host and also producer.
Yo, I'm KVI, aka D'Amico, and I'm the editor, and you can tell I did a lot of crap doing this.
Hey everybody, I'm John, and I was the director of photography for this project.
My name is Tristan. I helped write and also direct and also produce, kind of.
Hi, my name is Brandon. I played Cal in this production.
So immediately after watching the film, like something I connected to real life was like the poignancy of an artist's position being like a do or die kind of thing. So talk about, how that concept came to be, how it relates to your genre, and how the lead actors, internalize that and put it on screen.
So I'll just head things off. We had fantasy drama as our genre, which I think I'm safe to speak for all of us and say that's not really a genre any of us have ever worked in to a degree that we felt super comfortable in. So we kind of started by brainstorming and looking at this from a perspective of how can we take as a group of artists in different, in the same craft but in different regards, how can we perceive a fantasy in our world? We can make that in 2 weeks within the resources we have. So yeah, your point about it being like do or die, especially when we were brainstorming, it was like as an up and coming artist, as someone with no budget, whether you're an actor or a director or a writer, it's like the next thing I make has to make me stand out. The next thing I make has to be better than the last. And we took that to an extreme. And also kind of in a way pinning it to, even though you're not really in competition with artists that you are at the same level as, artists in your same city, it feels like you are because you're in a competition for attention, a competition for standing out. And that's not how it should feel, but because of how things are now. And so that's kind of why we landed on that concept. But I'll let someone else speak to some more of that.
For me as an actress and also as a writer, I wanted to capture the inner world of somebody that's creating and all the inner conflict that conveys, and also drama. It was something that I was determined to bring into the film, and I feel like all the guys, I'm the only woman. Everybody was a little, more hesitant with the drama side, but I'm like, okay, drama goes well with me. I grew up watching telenovelas, so. But yeah, I think we all add our piece to this film, and I am so proud of what we did. And somebody else.
Yeah, really quickly, because I know, I mean, I want to keep going on the same question, but you can take drama like in so many different ways. So it was kind of weird, like in that first day when we was talking about drama, that like almost everybody's ideas and concepts kind of went around like life or death, like do or die type of situation. So it was kind of weird that way. But yeah, I mean, I think we kind of like accurately portrayed the fact that artists, like Tyler said, is more like do or die, because not a guaranteed income, not a guaranteed lifestyle, not a guaranteed anything. So we definitely wanted to portray that throughout the film.
I don't know if we're still going on with the same question or if we're about to move on to a different one, but as an actor, or I guess can't necessarily speak for everybody here, but we're all artists. We all love bringing art to life, and the fact that this film kind of shows that, like, well, what if we took that to like the fantastical extreme of you're literally able to like bring the art to life from your own memory? Because I'm sure we've all thought to ourselves, like, imagine a film or painting or anything in our head, but we just can't bring it out there. So I really love like the comment we kind of came up with. What if you could bring it out there, use your memories or your own mindset to bring it to life, but in turn you lose that memory of it. So I really love the concept that we came up with there. I think trying to, as artists, bring things to life, we all really related to it.
Also the cinematographer? Yes. Okay, I have a question for you. Okay. Talk about like your choice of composition and shot type in making it. Like, it was very spot on and everything felt, in place and particular. So I definitely want to hear your choice of, shot selection, lens type, focal length, et cetera, all that nerdy stuff.
Okay, so generally when we learned what we were going to do with this film, like what the theme was, the do or die theme, the conflict of an artist where it feels like an uphill battle where you're competing with others. So I started thinking, what would be the feelings that someone would have in a situation like that? So I was imagining that, it would be very, there would be times you would want to isolate yourself, you would want to, close yourself off from others. So I started thinking with that, okay, so focal lengths need to be something close. They need to be something more intimate. So I'm thinking 50 millimeter shots, going to 80 in some ways, like 100 for shots like that. So then we also wanted to focus on what's the feelings that people would be having during this. So I like to associate colors with different feelings and moods. So we put, for Brandon's scene, he's playing his guitar, we put red for urgency. Then when we got to Elisa's part, we were trying to, this is the funny part about the filmmaking thing. So we had a big window and it was during the day and it's just light glaring in and we just could not get a good dark shot. So we said, we'll have to just use one side of the room and use creative filming, but to give it the night look, let's use a mix of purple and blue. And blue was the stronger color we were trying to go for, because that more so gives feelings of isolation. It can sometimes be associated with grief. And then since, she's trapped in this artistic rat race, we wanted to frame and do the frame within a frame, like where she's walking through the room. And so since everybody's on a straight path to become an artist or something, we wanted to start using scenes of like where Brandon's walking down the street, isolated shots, like, hey, this is another artist here, but I'm kind of lonely with him. Oh, that's all I got.
I think before we close out with this group, Jan Lisa, I have a question for you. So I definitely want to hear the steps we had to take to cry on camera. We haven't seen that yet tonight, so you're the first. I know that's a huge deal. So, speak about the challenges of that or the ease of that.
I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing in a way, but also for me it's very important to like go deep into the inner world of this character. And Adrienne particularly was grieving and she was holding on to a lot of resentment. And in order for me to like get to a place where she could be, I have to empathize, but also like it's being in the moment. And I remember when we were doing one of the scenes, I kind of got prepared, I think it was one of the last scenes, and I prepared myself, to cry on cue, but then it didn't came out again. So it's kind of like fleeing, right? So, but for this particular, I was lucky and it came out. I think I can do it, but also I don't know if I can do it, if that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know.
I just want to add that the scene where she's in the apartment and crying, she did that in one, that was the first one off the rip, and it was like, that's the money shot. So, yeah, so all credit to her.
Yeah. Cool. Any questions for the audience?
Well, it's kind of like a compliment question. I think y'all did a masterful job portraying fantasy drama. That redemption piece at the end, that was so cool. Yeah, that first take, that's amazing. But truly, it was a lot of fun from the CNN, Fox News type, typecast. I'm not going to speak on that part, but I'm curious, what is the As Above all about? Did the writing behind that have any greater significance, or I'm just missing something?
Tristan, do you want to? I'm gonna pass this down to you in a minute, unless you want me to.
He came up with the name, so.
Yeah, take it away, Tristan. And pass it back if you need to.
What a great question. I'm so glad you asked that. Part of me wants to do the David Lynch thing or the Pablo Picasso thing, where I just do one of these. But it means so much. So I was just trying to tie in more fantasy things. So I think in the first draft we had more magical themes. So in my head I was like, the as above, so below. This is the heaven, and there was going to be I think originally we were going to do the other side of it, which is the exploitation that comes with the creations, but obviously with it being 10 minutes. So you just saw the as above part, but yeah, there was supposed to be more of the other head of the coin where you kind of saw the not so awesome sides. I hope that answers your question.
Are there any other questions from the audience? Oh, over here. Okay, I'll hurry.
Hi. Honestly, this could go for anybody. If there was one point in the movie that if you could make it a little bit longer and actually expand and go more into detail, what would it be?
I can answer that. The ending part where he got his wish, that's where we wanted to kind of make that a little longer to really showcase the restoration of their relationship. And it's kind of his wish was, I wish I could do this all over again and be with another artist and not in a competitive nature. So we wanted to really emphasize kind of some, it's funny to me, some Anakin Padme lovey-dovey type shit. So that's what I wanted to kind of put in the end right there, but that's where we would have gone on, and we probably would have focused, put a little more on their relationship deteriorating, but we only had 10 minutes, so.
Okay. I actually, before we get off, I have one more question from back here. We'll keep it from.
I'm sorry, the bar got me fucked up. But look, I have a question about the scoring. I noticed that one of the characters had a guitar, so I was wondering if any of the music was original music.
Great question. Yes, all the music was original. That was composed by a local musician, Lyric Green. She's a singer, songwriter, producer, DJ. So yeah, that was all created for this, and kind of while we were writing and filming this, it was kind of communicating what the
vibe was that we were going for, and so she kind of absolutely nailed it. I think the music is one of the strongest pieces of this. So.
All right, so.
Hi guys, I'm Jada Kirksey. I was the director of the film.
Hi, I'm Violet Starr. I was the production designer.
Hi, I'm Chrissy Watkins. I was in the cast, and I was in charge of the Red Bull. Hi everyone, my name is Lauren. I was the writer, the creative director, and part of the cast.
I'm CJ, I helped out it a little bit, and I was a producer, and I was in the cast.
My name is Owen. I edited the film, and I was one of the cinematographers, and I'm the voice of the thing. Yeah. Okay.
So this felt most prevalent to me for very obvious reasons. I have so many questions right now. Let me take a moment.
Get after it.
Whew, that was good, y'all. So first, I want to know what came first. The ending to where there's this very radical moment of simply putting the phones down, putting these AI systems down, or did the invasiveness idea of AI come first? You get what I'm saying? So I want to hear about the process of the story and how you all landed on the conclusion of just putting the stuff away.
Yeah, I love that question. Thank you. What I would say is that I've never written a film before, right? So I'm joining this,
Really?
I'm just like, I'm gonna take my writing skills and figure out what to do here. So what I did is I went back to a poetry book that I wrote when I was in high school. And in that poetry book, I had written about people who are trying to break out of a system. They're trying to code break and to embrace their true selves, which means that they have to face whatever issues they have internalized. And I posed the poem to the group, and they just went with it. So I'm like, this team is really cool to listen to my crazy ass ideas and just go with it. And we started to think about the psychological thriller piece, which is the genre that we were given. And I wanted to have some way to think about a common enemy, which we thought of as AI, but also the way in which we will be weaker when we allow any sort of system to separate us or divide us. And it was just very random at the end of the 2-hour meeting that the team was going back and forth about the idea, and I was like, what if it's just like a group of friends and they are having this problem around AI? I posted much more eloquently than that. I don't actually remember what I posted them, but it very much was just about the concept of this conflict between friends. They all are going to turn to the same system that's going to turn them against each other, and the only way they're going to break out of that to create the world they want to see is to come together in community. That's the only way they're going to get over their internal struggles with each other and their internal struggles with self. And if you may pick up, each character has some form of insecurity that's coming out in their conflict with their friends. And they're turning to AI rather than turning to each other to just talk it out. And that's really the basis of the issue that they're going up against. And of course, they all end up being trifling cowards.
I have another question, kind of touching base on what you just said. Actually, in one of our past labs, there was a film that also talked about AI and the use of AI in our current modern world. And something that I feel like you folks did really well is you kind of introduced the AI. Yes, at the end it's this, it's the villain, quote unquote. It's what's keeping them apart. However, at the beginning, it's the common friend that they're all going to, that they're seeking solace and seeking advice from. And building on that, the idea of AI is that it just is responding back to you and giving you what you want. So I guess my question for you would be is this AI a reflection of these characters, or is this AI an independent thinking force that has its own role and has its own, thoughts, opinions, it's its own person?
Yeah, I love that question. The question you have is a thriller in itself. I love that question. What I would say is that when we were first brainstorming, and what I played off of was that the AI is all one major system. So they're all talking to the same AI bot, but they think that they're talking to someone else that's personalized to them. And when we engage with AI in anything from Google searches to going to AI websites, there's so many ways in which they take our personal data, and they already know who we are sometimes before we even ask the system another question. So it's very much a reflection of who we are when we type into searches the questions we have, the insecurities we have, and it's manifesting that back out. And it was very important to me that the chat GDP would find a way to reflect the very things that they say to themselves and to each other. And using that against them to where they have to hear who they're being in their own lives and not being able to escape who they are by going online, by diverting from talking to their friends. They have to face themselves, even if they are turning to AI to try to avoid doing that very thing.
So to kind of bring attention to things that were happening on screen, this is a question for the director, production designer. The DP isn't here, right? Right. Yeah. Okay. You know, as far as like bringing this to reality, why did the setting of the card game matter? You know, and like as far as the split screen moment and other like unique moments, why did those moments matter? And like what was the process behind deciding these things?
You want me to answer? Yeah. Lauren can explain it best, I think. Lauren can explain it.
Yeah. Okay. So I threw in creative director because I also did the storyboards for it. What I will say is I wanted to evoke that thriller piece. Originally, it was based around a clock, and there would be ticking as like the piece that would build up in that intensity, and we ended up cutting it because I felt like the way in which you're coming into the game that's about strategy and the way in which their emotions are in it. You have one character who's very intense, you have another character who's smirking, who thinks he got this, you have another character who's showing her annoyance, you know, with the team already. It's being able to show how they're already showing up in that relationship. And I was trying to think about those strategy games that people can play and in some ways be obsessed with in a way where they may not be paying attention to themselves as much as they are in this game. So that was something that I picked up on, at least for that piece. And when I was working through this, I really tried to think about the story as like a clock. And I wanted to think about, is what happening at the beginning reflected in the middle and at the end as well? And so it was important to me that they would start together, they would separate off and be attacked by the AI, and then they would come together in this realization that AI is not the answer. And so then they would be able to come back together in terms of creating that world we want to see, that the solution was not being separate, fighting this battle alone, that it was coming back to the table, quite literally, and being able to hash out some of the issues that they have.
Alrighty, I'm going to open it up to the audience. I see some questions back there.
Thank you. Great job, y'all. I have a question for Jada, the director. So obviously, one, kudos to the actors. All of you all brought out a very different personality, energy, and even when it was splitting between person to person, it felt very distinct, which I love. I have a question for you though, Jada, as a director. When you're directing the scenes when they're together, sure, but the separate scenes, how do you make sure that that energy, the distinction is maintained? How are you coaching them as a director, or even kind of leaning into, okay, I want more of this, more of that? Because y'all all did a fantastic job, and I'm just curious about what your process was as a director.
Yeah, so I really was like just reading the script back to the actors. I wanted to put them in that position to where they're literally in that space to where something is literally attacking them. So I like to, kind of make sure that my actors are just in the scene and I get in that scene with them, if that makes sense. I actually like read the lines back to them and try to put them in the space to where, you know, they're literally there. So, yeah.
She yelled at us.
Yeah, I was yelling at them. I was insulting them. I don't do things like that. Like, people up here know me.
She was just screaming at us.
Yeah, I was screaming at them, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if this is like rude or anything, but of course I'm trying to get them in that element. So yeah, I was just playing the role and trying to evoke that emotion out of them, and clearly it worked if you guys, you know, received it that way. But, yeah. Yeah, I was reading the lines back to them, so yeah, I was like playing the AI and just like, you know, yeah, let's do it again, like, give me more, you know, but, you know, we all was contributing to that, like, just push yourself, like, put yourself in a position to where you're literally getting attacked by AI, a robot, you know, so, yeah.
Any other questions? Right here.
Go ahead. Hi, Lauren, you're amazing. And second, so I had a question about how did you determine how the AI was going to attack each character? Because those were really well thought out and intriguing. So yeah, how did you create that idea?
Well, thank you. How I determined that was segmenting each character and building them out. So that was something that I think was really impactful with just how wonderful this team is when we were first thinking about characters. I knew from the poem that I'd written that I had a character who was like the strong Black superwoman, and I wanted to delve into that from, you know, what are insecurities that I can match to this person. And then for Christine's character, you know, someone who's very anxious and having a character thrown out like, well, what if we have someone who has anxiety? And so just kind of humanizing that character, thinking about people in my life, how they've shown up with social anxiety and what that experience can be like. And then going into Arturo's character and, you know, this high achieving person that everyone wants to live up to, but in and of itself, he still thinks that he's not winning at life. And just kind of delving into what his sense of insecurity might be like. So really just trying to humanize each person gave me the lines that ChatGPT would throw back at them, because that's already what they think about themselves. And I think sticking very firmly to the initial parameters of what the characters are helped me to not have to pull lines out of thin air, because these in my head are real people.
Okay, so before we end, I definitely want to dive into Christine's, your practice of this character. Christy or Christine? Either or.
Oh, I'm Chrissy.
Chrissy.
Character is Christine.
Oh, okay.
Very
you know, so yeah, just talk about, you know, again, you know, like the process of pulling out this emotion, bringing that to camera and being comfortable doing so. Was it hard? Was it not hard?
Yeah. I don't know. I think we were just really on a time crunch because CJ was at death's door, and no, he was very sick. Yeah. So yeah, we were just really time crunching it, and so I was just trying to make sure that I didn't actually have a real panic attack. So yeah, that's what I was trying to manage between actually portraying it and actually not falling into that. Yeah.
I think we have time for one last question if there is. Okay, cool.
Hey, I'm DeAndre. I'm a huge fan of psychological thrillers, so shout out to y'all with this piece. My question is for the director. Did you find yourself how did you prepare yourself to dive into a psychological thriller like this? I know a lot of the actors gonna have to go into a dark space to get to bring out the best. But how did you prepare yourself to direct these wonderful actors to tap in?
Yeah, ironically, I'm literally writing my own psychological thriller. So the night of the, cohort meeting, we were getting assigned themes, and I was telling Chrissy, I'm like, I'm literally writing a psychological thriller right now. If we get this, that'd be so crazy. And when they spun the wheel, we got it. So I'm just like, that's alignment. And I was already in a space of like trying to put myself in a position to write this. So this literally has pushed me to be in a position to like, okay, I'm ready to write mine. And I have an actress in the audience that's going to be my lead. So yeah, I was already kind of in that space. But this, I feel like this was just all alignment and divine timing because yeah, I'm ready to like write my own. But of course, I shout out to Lauren. She wrote this and she made it seamless for me. So now I know when I write mine, you know, I can have all the, you know, elements aligned. So.
Oh, never mind.
Just guys say something really quick.
Yeah.
Adrian is not here. He was our cinematographer. He's in New York. So shout out to him. He also, his parents let us use their house. And we shot everything in like 4 hours, and it was a bad idea. And we were all dying, so that's shout out to him. Okay.
Alrighty, folks. Thank you so much. I think that's all the time we have. Or is there?
No.
No? All right, so let's give another round of applause for it. That was Cohort's Film Lab St. Louis. Thank you so much. Before we all start heading out, I just wanted to say again, thank you so much to everyone who came and showed out and supported all of these amazing, amazing people in the room. I thoroughly enjoyed the work. If you did too, we are running it back in April, and there will be another edition of Cohort's Film Lab St. Louis. So if you liked what you saw, come on down and join us. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.